Well, hello. Anthony Siccaro here, founder and president of Providence Financial and Insurance Services, located in Woodland Hills, California. Also, attorney at law at Anthony Siccaro Law, located in Granada Hills, California. And I'm also host of the Providence Financial Retirement Show, which airs every Saturday on AM 870. KRL lays the answer. And if it looks like I'm doing this video from a hotel room, well, there's a good reason for that, and that is because I'm doing this video from a hotel room in Nashville, Tennessee, to be more specific, for Dave Ramsey training. Some of you have heard of Dave Ramsey, some of you maybe have not, but he is a business owner who does a lot of business training. And one of the things that you don't probably realize behind the scenes is, as a financial advisor, as an attorney, I'm also a business owner and still have to deal with the mechanics of running a business, still have to deal with dealing with the people, all the, the human resources challenges of running a business and so on. So I actually, take about 2 weeks a year and visit Dave Ramsey and company because that's what they do, is business training. Now, the stock market went into bear market territory today, and I felt compelled not to wait until I get back late Thursday night and then wouldn't be able to leave you a video until maybe Friday or even next week. I didn't want to do that. So I'm in my hotel room, wanted to give you some quick information, taking a few minutes break, and share some thoughts with you. So this is for you, my clients particularly. If you're a client of ours, thank you for your business. Thank you for your trust. And I've gotten a couple of questions that tend to go down two lines of reasoning from several of you. Not a lot, but several of you. And usually if I get a question, I kind of have a 10-to-1 rule, and that if one person asks a question, there's probably 10 more people thinking about it. So I've gotten enough questions to where even if you haven't asked it, you might be wondering the same thing. There's two questions that I want to address in this video. The first question is, what's going on with the market and how does that affect what's happening with fixed income portfolios? So, and should you be concerned? I think that's a legitimate question that several of you have voiced. That's one thing. And number two, should you make any changes? Those are the two questions that we're going to address in the next few minutes here. So, should you be concerned? Well, the answer is no if you listen to what we do, because we have a plan. And if you listen to my radio show or you follow our podcasts, which you can do at providencefinancialpodcast.com, then you know that if you have a plan takes into consideration the fact that we're going to have a bear market. And at no point in time with any of you did we ever build a plan where the market was going to go straight up. I believe in planning for worst case scenario, and worst case scenario as far as portfolio balance is concerned is that the balance drops. Now at the same time, that's really not worst case scenario. It looks like worst case scenario. It smells like worst case scenario. It kind of feels like worst case scenario when you get your statements. And I think some of you have gotten your statements like, you take that breath and you go, okay, let me call Anthony. Things are down a little bit, but that's not bad. So let me talk about why things are down, where things are going to go, and then why that's not bad. Just as a refresher, nothing new in the school here as far as this conversation. But first of all, the reason that things are down is because the inflation number, it really all goes back to the inflation number that came out a week and a half ago or so, was at 8.3%. Everybody was kind of hoping that it would be at 8% or under 8%. It was 8.6% for July, if I remember right. It was 8.3% for August, and that's what it all ties back to, the higher inflation number. Well, what that's done is it's caused the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, the Fed chairperson of the Federal Reserve Bank, to dig in their heels and basically come up with a absolute resolve to lower inflation, pretty much at the expense of everything else, at the expense of the stock market, at the expense of the economy. They're going to get inflation under control. And part of this is because they were so behind the curveball at the beginning of this whole inflationary cycle. You might remember a year and a half ago or so that they were saying inflation was transitory, and it turned out they were wrong. They had egg on their face. So now they're going in the other direction. Like, we're going to get this thing under control. We're not going to get caught with our pants down again. And that's what their resolve is. And then they've talked about trying to have this soft landing. It doesn't look like they're going to have a soft landing. And the inflation number, that 8.3% that just came out, caused them to dig their heels in. And then just last week, they raised interest rates again by 0.75%. 0.75%. Quite frankly, I am surprised that they actually didn't raise interest rates by 1%, because some people started thinking that they might actually do that. But they raised it by 0.75%. Well, that's had an impact on the stock market. Stock market officially entered bear market territory again today. It was the Dow Jones today. Last time it entered bear market territory was the S&P 500. But officially in bear market territory again, that means negative 20%. So 20% down from its all-time high is the definition of a bear market. And that's what the stock market has done. It's entered bear market territory. And so it's not been good. The raising of interest rates has not been good for the stock market. And it's also not been good for the fixed income market. Fixed income is everything that you guys have. Stocks, bonds, preferred stocks, business development companies, REITs, even dividend stocks in some regards are fixed income. But everything that pays you fixed interest and dividends, which is what you have, is the fixed income market. Well, without getting into a lot of detail, when interest rates go up, fixed income investments tend to go down. And that's what's happened. Interest rates have gone up a bunch, and your fixed income investments have gone down a lot as well, too. But is that bad? Well, the only way it can be bad is if you want to sell, if you want to cash. If you buy a home and you're renting it out, or if you buy a home and it goes down in value and you want to sell it, then you lost money. But if you're renting out that home, the home value is going to fluctuate. But as long as the rent's on time, do you really care? The answer is no, you don't really care. And it's the same thing with fixed income portfolios, because you're going to be getting your interest and dividends consistently and persistently, regardless of the value of your portfolio. I often talk about, for those of you that are living and withdrawing your income from your portfolio, I often talk about eating the eggs and not the chickens. Well, the value of the chickens is going to fluctuate, but the amount of eggs they lay is going to be the same. And that might confuse some of you. I think that's a big source of confusion as to why maybe some of you have asked me the question, do I have to worry? Because let's say you have $1 million, just a round number. And let's say you're getting $40,000 a year of eggs. You're getting $40,000 a year of interest and dividends. Well, one of the parts of the questions I've been asked is, well, if my $1 million drops to $800,000 or $900,000, then my $40,000 drops too, right? And the answer is no. The $40,000 stays the same. Now it's gonna fluctuate a tad because we're trading, we're monitoring, we're often trying to upgrade if we can. There are some things that are going to get called that we have to replace, so it's not going to be the same to the penny, but it's going to be in the same range as that $40,000. If your balance drops by 20%, your $40,000 is not going to drop by 20%. The $40,000 is going to remain the same, relatively consistent to that $40,000. So if you're living off the $40,000, it really doesn't matter what your account balance is. It doesn't matter if the balance just stays at $1 million or if it goes down to $800,000, or for that matter, if it goes up to $1.2 million. It doesn't matter because you're living off the $40,000. Just think of that house. If you bought a house for $1 million and you're getting $40,000 of rent, what effect does it have on you if that house drops to $800,000? Answer, none. As long as the tenant keep paying the rent, it doesn't have any effect on you. So I think you just need a reminder of that. I talk about it a lot, but at this point, when you see your account balances down, I think it's a good point to remember. Now, the other point to remember is that there are a lot of you that are not spending your income. You're just reinvesting. And I want to remind you that when the account balance drops, that's actually a blessing because we get to take that $40,000 a year in our example and reinvest it in the same type of fixed income investments you have, but now at a 20% discount. So if your balance is down by 20% and you're reinvesting, you get a 20% discount. And what we know is that this is not going to go on forever. There's going to be a point in time where the share price comes back up. The Federal Reserve is not going to raise interest rates forever. The stock market's not going to go down forever. The fixed income market's not going to go down forever. Just from a common sense standpoint, nothing goes down forever. Nothing goes up forever. We know that there's cycles, but when you're in the cycle and you see your statements, they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to go forever. It feels like it, but it's not. But the reality is that if in fact you are reinvesting your income, then the fact that everything's gone down, you really want to enjoy that. You would be better off if you're reinvesting your income. You would be better off if things stay like this for another year or two, and they could. This may be a very deep recession. I haven't heard anyone talking about a short and shallow. I've been hearing them talk about longer and deeper. So we could have a ways to go down. And if it goes down further and you're reinvesting, then you get even a steeper discount. And if you're living off your income, you're living off the eggs and the value of the chickens crashes, who cares, because the number of eggs you're getting is still going to remain the same. So I just have to remind you of that. But when you look at your statement, you're like, oh my gosh, my chickens have crashed. My chickens are worth less. It doesn't matter. I just want to remind you of that. The only time that it matters is if you want to sell. And for those of you who have taken my advice for many years, I mean, probably well over a decade or decade and a half, I've had a 2-year rule. And that 2-year rule is that if you're going to need that money within 2 years, I recommend you leave it in cash. I've been preaching this rule for years. And this is the reason why. If you would have come to us 2 years ago and you would have invested your portfolio and you would have told me, hey, I might need my money in 2 years, I would have told you, like I have told some of you, don't invest. There's too much risk in the short term to invest. So unless you didn't listen to me or unless you didn't follow that advice, if you invested 2 years ago hoping that you would make a quick buck and then get out in 2 years, you might lose money. But outside of selling, there's a significant difference between losing money and just having your portfolio fluctuate in value. Well, that's what's happening. Your portfolio is fluctuating in value because of what's going on in the Federal Reserve. And I think it's got to be I think there's going to be a long ways to go. I don't think, and it's hard, we don't know. I think the stock market has a lot more down to go, and I don't know what that means. We're down 20%. I think we're not done yet. I think it could be another 10 or 20% down on the market, but we don't know for sure. At the same time, I think the fixed income market is kind of at a point where it can't go down much, much more, but it can. As much as I say that, we don't know what's going to happen. But the market could have more. I'm believing that the fixed income market is probably not going to go down too much more. It doesn't mean it's not going to go down any more, but probably not too much more. And that's because yields have gotten high. Yields have gotten exciting at this point. It's the best time in many, many years to buy fixed income investments. So a lot of people that are getting out of the stock market are actually going to be getting into what you guys have. So, but can it not go down more? I don't know. No one knows for sure. But this would not be a time necessarily to want to get out of fixed income if that's where you are. So, and the biggest reason, kind of jumping back to what I mentioned a minute ago about, why I think this inflation could be longer, why a lot of people are talking about the fact that it could be longer and even deeper as far as the market's concerned, boils down to the unemployment rate. Right now there are 1.8 million jobs for every worker available. There's over 11.5 million jobs available and like 6 million workers. And the unemployment rate has to get to right around 6% or so from everything I've studied and everything in my own analysis. Got to get to about 6% or so before inflation starts creeping down. People are still spending money. Doesn't matter how high gas is. We've had this period where we've been locked up, and people are, it's almost like you only live once, like we're going to do, especially the retired people. Baby boomers are in this generation. There's 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day, starting to collect Social Security every day. And they're in the situation where like, we don't care what it spends. We're going to go out and do it. We didn't get to retirement to not do anything. So there's this struggle. And until unemployment rate gets probably 6% or north, I think this is going to continue. So inflation is probably going to be a struggle. Interest rates are probably going to keep going up for a little while. Hopefully we found a bottom in the fixed income market, but I only say hopefully for you. The reality is, again, if the fixed income market goes down further, if you're reinvesting, thank the fact that it's going down. That's a blessing, if you will, that it's gone down in value. Don't be disappointed by that. Be thankful for that. That's what I was trying to say. Because now you get to reinvest at a discount. And I really feel like we're spring loading. I almost feel like we're spring loading, and we've seen this before. We saw it in 2008. We saw it in 2001. I almost feel like we're spring loading here to where when at some point in time, when inflation gets under control and the Federal Reserve, stock market's down and the Federal Reserve's going to lower rates again, nothing goes up forever, then you'll probably see your portfolios all jump. And I don't know if you're reinvesting, you don't want that to happen. But from an emotional standpoint, you're going to like it. Now, when's that going to happen? I don't know. Can't predict the future, but it could be months, could be years. As far as that's concerned, just long term. This is everything we're doing is for the long term. We're not investing for the next month or 6 months or even 1 year. It's for the rest of your life. And if you're getting income off your portfolio, we don't care how long it takes. If you're reinvesting your portfolio, the longer it takes the longer it stays down, the better off you are. So either way, you've heard me preach. If you listen to my podcast, you listen to my radio show, you've heard me preach that you need to be in a position to win no matter what. And if you're invested for income and you're living off your eggs, you're winning because it doesn't matter what the portfolio value is. And if you're reinvesting your eggs and you're using the eggs you're not spending to buy more chickens, well, the fact that the chickens are down in value gets you more chickens for the same number of eggs. You're winning. The only time you lose is if you want to sell, and that's why I've had my 2-year rule. That's why I don't let you buy for 2 years. So hopefully that gives you some idea that you're not in bad positions. Now I understand you get your statements, you look at your statements, a portfolio's down, but that doesn't mean you're in a bad position. Hopefully that makes more sense to you. Now, let's answer another question, the second question, because the first question is where do we expect things to go and should you make any changes with regards to that? And I think the answer is probably no with respect to just, from a panic standpoint. When you call me or when you email me and go, hey, my balance is down, should I make any changes? Well, if you're going to make a change just because your balance is down, the answer is no, don't make a change. But there's other reasons that would make sense to make a change. Number one, there's an emotional turmoil to this whole thing for some of you. Some of you have told me it's emotional. And, every single one of you, when we've had conversations and we've decided how we're going to allocate your portfolio, we're going to put some into an annuity. We're going to put some over here in the moderate aggressive category, everything that you guys have been to, no matter how long you've been with me, because I've been preaching it for decades. The fact is that we talk about the moderate and aggressive category as going to fluctuate. And yet it's one thing to know mechanically, mathematically that's going to fluctuate. It's one thing to have me tell you that when we're sitting there on my whiteboard and we're talking about it. It's a whole nother thing to experience it. If I offered you $1 million to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, you might be quick to say, yeah, well, for $1 million, I would do it. But it's different when you actually get in the ring and now you're about to get punched, right? That's a different scenario. And so now all of a sudden, with the market going down into bear market territory, there are some of you that, feel like you've gotten punched. And even though that you're winning, even though if you're reinvesting, you're winning, if you're living off your income, it's not hurting you, even though that mentally, there's a heart issue. There's an emotional turmoil, and maybe you're not sleeping well, and if you've also heard me say on my radio and my podcast many times that if your investments are causing you to not sleep well, you're invested wrong. So if you just can't handle it anymore, you just don't like to see it, then I'm more than happy to talk to you about reinvesting, about reinvesting your situation, because I don't want you to lose sleep at night, even though it may, from a common sense standpoint, make sense. This is not what retirement's supposed to be about either, right? So if that's your situation, then let me know. And we've had a number of you have called me and said, hey, look, that moderate aggressive category, that's great. It is fluctuating too much. If I can take that and I can put that money into an annuity, and I know that I'm never going to get a statement balance that's going to go down. It's always just going to go up. My money's safe. It's protected. I've had a lot of you that have called me that have said that's what they want to do. And maybe that's what you want to do as well too. So if you're thinking about that, then feel free to call me and let me know. And I'm not going to make a blanket statement that you should do that. All of you are different. Every one of you is invested a little bit differently. But if you're thinking that maybe you want it to be a little more conservative, let me know. I'm certainly more than happy to have a conversation with you. I'm out of town. If I can't have that conversation with you, I'll have Chuan have that conversation with you. Again, Chuan is fully licensed, 15-year veteran in investments. And it's funny. He's been with us now for, I think, 75 days, so almost 90 days. And if you talk to him, he has adapted so quick. If you talk to him, it's almost like you're talking to me. He's just come around that quickly. So even though I'm in training, I may not be able to get to you. We'll certainly have him, get on his calendar and get to you as well too about, whether that makes sense for you to, maybe be a little more safer. So that's one thing that I just want to share with you. But, don't panic. And if you're not sleeping, if you're not losing sleep over it, and a lot of you have expressed that to me too. You're like, hey, I'm so glad we know you. I'm so glad we have a plan. I'm so glad we understand how the whole chicken and egg things work. Yeah, our portfolio's down, but we understand. We're getting income from our portfolio. We're reinvesting our eggs. So a lot of you have told me that too. And if you're not losing sleep, then don't worry about it. So that's the first thing. But the other question I had another question today, and it's several times I've been asked this over the last few weeks, and that is, with the market down, especially today, with the market down 20%, should we buy more stocks? I think that's a great question, and the answer is it depends. because again, some of you emotionally probably can't handle buying more stock. So I think you got to be really careful about, if you can't handle what's going on emotionally now, you probably don't want to buy more stocks. But some of you just know it's part of the rhythm. It's just part of investing, and you still know you're getting your eggs. You understand getting your eggs, and you want to get some potential growth too. So if that's your situation, here's the thought process that I want you to have. And, again, if you want to have a conversation about this, call me, call Twan, we'll get you dialed in. But the thought process is I do think you should have some stock in your portfolio. Over the long run, it's a good inflation hedge, not over the short run, not over the next year. Over the long run, having some stocks in your portfolio is a good inflation hedge. But the caveat to that is they have to be dividend paying stocks so you don't give up your income. When we put stocks in our clients' portfolio, you're still going to be yielding somewhere in the range of 4% or more. So it's not income or growth. With the stocks that we put in your portfolio, it's income and growth. So I think, for the long run, having some percentage of stocks in your portfolio makes a lot of sense. But how much? Well, the formula that I'm generally advising you now is to have some stocks in your portfolio, but not so much to where if the market does go down another 20 or 30% from here, that you are in a position where you can't buy more. I would want you to be able to take advantage of that. Now, we're not talking about market timing. Market timing is buy here and sell here and buy here and sell here. And that's market timing. And that's not what we're talking about. But there's a significant difference between buying and selling, trying to time the market, between choosing a good entry point and then staying there for the long run, living off the eggs and putting yourself in a position where the chickens in the stock market might grow in value faster than the chickens in the fixed income market. So, that's what we're talking about is entry point. I wouldn't want you to get in, put 30% of your money in the market now and then try to sell later. And then I wouldn't want that. But I wouldn't have a problem if you put 10 or 20 or 30% in the market now, as long as you're willing to double up if the market goes down another 20 or 30% from here. And that's possible. So that's the thought process I want you to have. I want you to be emotionally capable of handling it. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, stocks, and you're starting to freak out just by the fact that I'm doing this video, no, I don't want you to go in the market. But if you're thinking it's a good time to buy now, well then I'm going to ask, and here's what I would think. Here's what I think would be a kind of a do-it-yourself formula if you're trying to figure out, okay, Anthony, that's nice. What do I think? Do I do it or not? Well, what I would ask is, what is the maximum percentage you think you would ever want in the stock market? And I can tell you that a lot of you, the answer is going to be like 40 or 50%. I'd never want more than, say, 50% in the market at any point in time from here going forward. And I don't think that's a bad number. It's going to, everyone's a little bit different. But let's say that number is 50%. Well, then what I would think now is put 20 or 30% now and leave yourself room to put another 20 or 30% if the market goes down even more from here. So having some in the market now, we know that the market's at a 20% discount right now. So if you invest now, you're getting a 20% discount. But if you wait till later, then in fact, you'll probably get even a bigger discount. And if we're wrong, well then guess what? You'll be glad you got some in the market. If the market doesn't go down any further, you'll be glad you got 20 or 30% in now. Now, for those of you that have money in stock, if you already have that, then you probably want to wait until a better moment if there's such a thing. But again, keep my formula in mind. Make sure that if the market goes down another 20 or 30% from here, or even 10%, that you have some resources left to get in at that point. So that's what I want you thinking. Now, the only other thing that I'm going to throw in is some of you are thinking about cash. And we haven't had that question. I've not had any one of you come to me and say, hey, should I just get all in cash? I haven't had that, at least as far as I can remember. I would not do that. Okay, when you look at history, the challenge with having cash, especially if you sell now, is you're going to miss the biggest up days in the market. The biggest crashes are followed by the biggest up days. Let me give you some numbers. I think I've given these numbers before, but if you would have invested $10,000 in the market 15 years ago, okay, and just let it ride, you would have had $44,000. Your $10,000 would have grown to $44,000 over the last 15 years in the broad stock market. But if you would have missed the 10 best days in the market, 10 best days over the last 15 years, then your portfolio would only be worth almost $22,000. 50% as much, just because you missed the 10 best days in the up market. So the reality is going to cash is not what I would ever recommend. If you happen to go out at a time where you got lucky and the market was high and you got out, now you're waiting for a better time to get in, then congratulations. And some of you have done that. Some of you have reported to me, in a fashion that you're excited that you got out of the market 3 months ago, 6 months ago. And that's fine, but it's very risky. Well, now that the market's down 20%, you don't want to do that. Just stay put for all the reasons that we talked about. If you're emotionally unstable and you're thinking about maybe putting more money into more conservative investments, so you don't see that that ebb and flow, call us up. Let Twan or I help you. If you're thinking about adding more or adding something to the market, and because we're down 20%, you may want to put some more chips on the table. I have no problem with that. Call me, email me, Twan or I get back to you. Even I'm in training, here in Tennessee. If I need to make some phone calls to you, you know that I will make myself available to do that. Just because I appreciate you, appreciate your business, appreciate your trust. I don't take it lightly, and I got the feeling that some of you are concerned, and that even though I'm here, I did not want to wait a week to get my thoughts to you. So hope that helps. Anthony Sakar here from Nashville, Tennessee.